Hello and welcome to the mid-season review for 2025 here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. We are here mid-year, filming this on the 28th of May, and at the moment the Carlton Football Club sits with a record of 4-7. And it has been a bye that has been much needed because it's been disappointing, ultimately. Wild that we're already halfway through and there's almost this sense of a little bit of dread for what could come. But I've done enough of these videos and enough of these mid-season reviews. And as a matter of fact, I went back and watched a couple of the last three mid-season reviews, and I think one thing I've definitely learnt along this journey is you just never know what's around the corner, even when it looks grim. And does it look grim? Yeah, it's pretty grim. But I want to be very careful not to talk in too much hyperbole and just keep it as a matter of fact as possible. There's the temptation to continue to look into perception. But what is important is perspective. And so I do try and balance the two, because ultimately we are living in a world of perception. We all have a perception of what's happening. We don't have the full details, but what we do know is the team is struggling. It's 4-7. There have been a number of factors that have happened this year which may be affecting the team and the club. And I mean, the reality is this is way below the expectation of what this group should be at, in my opinion. And again, that is a perception, but I think that's a perception that is shared by the club, because we were, talking about top four, being a consistent team during the season. Like, that was the mission going into the year. So yeah, it's been pretty wild. We obviously start the year with off-field turmoil, we'll call it. We've had injuries, physical and mental. And that's something that's new in 2025. I don't think we've spoken too much around players taking absences due to mental health or personal reasons. I mean, it's becoming more prevalent this year, it would seem. Obviously, Harry's been one that's taken some time away. He's been struggling. Elijah's another one. So I do wonder what that does to the group, for the group. If there is that care factor in there for one another, I would only assume that can hurt the group. Injuries to personnel, I mean, the reality is injuries shouldn't matter if you have a good enough system. But I think what we're seeing right now is the system is not stacking up. So, there's a coaching issue as well, both from head coach point of view and potentially the assistant, or definitely the assistants as well. I don't think we're getting enough there. We're just not getting enough all the way around. And so when I was asked the other night about, who from Carlton has improved, I sort of looked at it and I'm like, it's a real struggle to look at too many players that have improved from last year. I think Ollie Hollands comes to mind. I think George Hewitt definitely comes to mind. Jack Silvani didn't play last year, so anything he did this year would have been an improvement. I think we've seen Adam Chera be at his normal level. I think same goes for Cripps, pretty consistent. But yeah, it's a real struggle at the moment. And the hope is that things turn around. But what I find really fascinating about this one is that pre-season, we're talking about, we had it in the bag last year for 2/3 of the season and we fell away. Let's get back to playing the way that we can and what we are capable of. And pretty quickly, it's turned to can't wait for the draft, can't wait for Cody Walker. I mean, we can't wait for the draft that we don't have a first-round pick in. Trade guys for currency, let's get picks, let's regenerate, mini rebuild, mini reset, etc., etc. And that's in 11 rounds. So I think that's, again, perception. I think that's too far, but I don't think it's so far from the truth. I think somewhere in the middle, it'll settle, and that usually does. We have been gifted the fixture in 2025, and I believe so. And I also believe we are wasting the fixture. I think we had a perfect opportunity to really charge for a top 4 spot. And I think the club might have thought the same thing, personally. Again, perception, opinion, and a guess. So what is working? Well, I don't see this team have any problem winning the football. If I could summarize it, and I think we would all say something similar, no issue winning the ball, major issue using the ball, to simplify it. And again, I'm very much just a student and an observer of this game. I'm not an analyst. I'm not an expert. I'm far from it. I am a fan that just watches it. So yeah, I just see a team that really has no issue at the contest. Like sometimes there have been matches and there have been patches during matches where the contest gets beaten, and we struggle there. And obviously then there's that next layer of, well, what happens when the contest game and the pressure game is not going in our favor? We obviously fall apart. So that's clear. I have no issue with that. Moving the ball, I think there have been signs of an evolution in there, but reality is, the best pressure to put on another team is the scoreboard. You can get away with a lot, provided that you have the scoreboard ticking in your favor. And again, you can go watch the 2020 mid-season review, the 2021 mid-season review, and go to 2023 and watch that mid-season review. I said the same thing, the way we use the ball going inside 50. So it doesn't change. It hasn't changed. It's been years of the same issue. And yeah, I'm going to repeat myself because that's what I'm seeing yet again. So I see dysfunction again with the team. I think the last game against the Giants in particular, not wanting to overreact too much to one game, given this is a full mid-season review, but the Giants game was scary for me because I saw a team show characteristics of almost petulance, almost a refusal to want to focus. And so my biggest concern right now with this team is their inability or their lack of wanting to stay fully focused for every inch of the game. It's conditional. Their focus on the field, from the way I watch it, their focus levels for the milliseconds every game is conditional. It's the team. The game's got to be going on their terms in order for them to be locked in. I don't truly see a connected group out there. Like, the vibes are good for moments. I am led to guess that something's happening in that room, in that dressing room, because of it. I've seen this team show care for one another unconditionally. It's almost like when we've been in holes this season, we've had the honest conversations comment thrown at us for quite some time this season and for a long time. And we had it again, and it's like they're going back on their word. Everything seems like a bit of a drag at the moment. It's a bit of a chore. It's a job. It's dreadful. And I see it in the supporters as well. The one thing I'm concerned about mostly with this whole situation is what I'm starting to see and hear from supporters, the way they're talking, because it's dragging people down. You just don't get many sports teams in this country with a fan base that wear it like the Carlton fans do. There are other passionate fan bases, but what I've noticed is a lot of other fan bases, they're able to just get on with their lives and move on with it. Like, to have a fan base that's willing to ride the results of the club into their lives, it's a beauty and a curse. It's special and it's very unique. And you got to remember, I know because we watch losing teams, or, it's very easy to say, the players don't care or they don't care enough. I sometimes fall into the trap of that. They also feel that. They also feel that sapping of the energy. There's no doubt about it. They're going out there and what they're doing out there isn't working. It's not getting the results. A lot of these players have been here a long time. That you sort of see the layers of disappointment have now started to seemingly affect them mid-season. And I don't know what the fix is. They've got a week off here. Like I said earlier, you've got injuries to certain players, dysfunction and controversy off the field. You've got an incoming CEO who's going to make changes. There's all sorts of speculation around, contract talks with De Koning, and there's other players who are out of contract. Head of football, unsighted this season. When he speaks, you just want to pull your hair out because you're not inspired by anything he's saying. When he doesn't speak, you're pulling your hair out because, there's silence. You've got a president who sent an email before Collingwood to change board members. Haven't heard from him since. I mean, unless you were at President's Club functions or other functions, you probably did hear from him. But for the general fan, you don't hear from him. So there's a lot going on. Is it awful what's happening? Yeah, it's pretty bad. But again, one thing I've learned, and I don't know how or when or if it's going to change in the second half of this season. But one thing I've definitely seen in footy, in doing all of this, all these mid-season reviews is, like I said, something is around the corner. My pessimistic concern is that it's a sugar hit that's around the corner and not something of substance. And the club will very easily sell, we turned the season around and, but for a few games here or there, we'd be better. I just still can't get Richmond out of my mind. And I do feel that really rattled the group mentally and the supporters mentally. Like, to really have that happen was bitterly disappointing. And to be honest, there's been 2 wins that I've watched this year. I actually left the game. I'm like, well, that was really solid to good. I thought the Geelong win was a good win. You take nothing away. Like, it was one good win. And the St Kilda win I thought it was a solid win. An expected win, your favourite. The bar is becoming lower and lower with what makes me happy. And the changing of expectations is the one that I've battled with. Because at the start of the season, I'm benchmarking this team as the top 4. And now I almost feel this temptation to just strip it back, look to the future, to the draft, to free agency, to trade targets. And it's like, really? Like, in 11 rounds? Like, is that really what this year's just going to go into? Is it just going to continue to spiral into this inability to trust one another, inability to be truly, brutally honest with one another, this fear of conflict with one another? I'm struggling to see an obsessed team. I see a pretty resilient team in moments, and then I see characteristics of I don't care enough to get mad from team members. Our senior group, so talk about the leadership of the team. I think Cripps has been relatively consistent. He always does find a way to find the minimum standard, and his stats usually look great. He's had moments where he's burnt his teammates, and you see the bad habits that maybe plagued him early in his career. But I mean, there was, he was the great white hope. So it's hard to unlearn those behaviors. I've seen those behaviors rear their head. Unfortunately, I haven't seen too much growth from Charlie or Harry as leaders on the field, which is disappointing. I thought Charlie started making real ground in that area. And then I've seen some character. I mean, first of all, early in the season, he was hurt. So there is context and there's perspective there. He wasn't fully match fit. He had an interrupted preseason. So, there are some factors there. But I mean, the last month or so, I think he's been fit. He finds a way to kick his goals now, 2 to 3 a game, which at the end of the day, you can't expect 5 goals a game on average. But there's just characteristics there, when it's not going his way, just to fight his way through that, again, in my perception. And we need leadership in the forward line, and we don't have it. I think we've got good leadership in defence, relatively speaking. I think we've got good enough leadership in the midfield Cripps is in the midfield, but that forward line just continues to lack. Jordan Russell, who's the forwards coach, I don't really see anything in particular that he's brought into the team as an assistant coach on that line, unless he's still working at it and it's going to show its head in the second half of the year. At this point, I don't really know what the merit of that acquisition has been so far. So I'm struggling to see improvement there. Our small forwards obviously don't play traditional small forwards roles, which has created a lot of confusion with me and with the general fan base. We do the rating show and we see Jesse Motlop, Corey Durden, and these types. Their heat maps are not in the forward 50. And it's interesting because we play this game where we are so behind the ball and then we rely on the spread ahead of the ball from players who are starting from behind the ball. And that's where the confusion is coming from in the fan base as well. Like, is that the game style? I've seen Geelong do the same thing. That's the thing, that they do it so well. They spread so well that they move as a unit and they create opportunities over the top. We just can't do that for some reason because we don't use the ball well enough. There's an argument out there that it's too crowded. It might be. I'm not a full believer in... Am I a full believer in what they're doing? No, I'm not a full believer in what they're trying to do, but at the same time, I don't know the game so well to really know what the better alternative is. I don't see this team at this stage becoming so drastically better with their ball use to turn it around in a significant way. And what I mean by a significant way is, finish into the qualify for finals in a strong position where you have a home final. So I'm struggling to see that. Would love to. Yeah, at any point, if they want to turn it around and find it, I'd love to. There's been a bit of comparison to Brisbane last year. I think that should probably stop. That's more so just to see what's possible, which, again, it's footy and it's sport. Anything's possible. I think Melbourne's an interesting one to look at. They looked and they were spoken about in a similar vein to us, playing a contested style of football, yada, yada, yada. They seem to have come out the other end after looking like whatever they were doing was outdated. So there's definitely hope. It's minimal. And sometimes it's the worst part about following Carlton. It's the hope that actually sucks you in a little bit, but then kills you. So I do struggle at times to really lean into the team. And one thing I'm noticing with this team more and more, when they're bad, I used the word resentment the other day, and I think that's not the right word. It's icky. When you love something, it's hard to explain. The way I watch them play sometimes, and maybe it's because I'm getting a little bit older now and I just don't have these people in such prestige. They're footballers, they're athletes. For most of them, this will be the greatest achievement in their life, even just making the league. So I don't have that wow complex about a lot of them. They're not impressive to me. They play football and I love the club and I appreciate and love and respect them because they represent the club on the field and that's an honor. But when they showcase their characteristics and their attitudes of just discontent, and when it gets a little bit hard, they just want to dump kick it or just not improve and not show anything resembling a team that is going to improve or wants to improve. I find myself really unattracted to them and I really dislike the way they play at times. The style of play is not exciting. But again, I also understand defense wins premierships. Defense always wins championships and premierships. Not always, but most of the time. And I understand that finals footy is built around contest and pressure, and you sort of go from there, and it does tighten up. So that's where I believe, okay, maybe the game style can have some adjustments made to it, but the foundation of it is at the contest. And, we as fans might at times be sick and tired of hearing that. But, if you watch players do post-game interviews for every other club, if you watch coaches from any other club, they all talk about it. Some clubs refer to it as contest and defense. We call it contest and pressure, but it's around the league. So we're not the only team that wants to play a style built around contest and pressure. We just only talk about contest and pressure. So, look, moving forward, it's going to be a very interesting second half of the year. There are moving parts. There are people whose jobs will not be there at the end of the year. And I think there's the knowledge of that now. It's not a secret. There's this, what's the word? There's this hanging Grim Reaper, which we're all hoping is the great white hope in Graham Wright coming in, making changes. He's had plenty of time to look at the club now and decide what he wants to do. So you kind of know that changes are coming to the department. You fucking hope so. You hope that changes are coming on the field. Reality is this. They're either going to do something special in the second half of the season, get their shit together and play football and perform and get the results consistently, or they're not. And if they don't, then some of them might be gone at the end of the year and we'll just keep moving. So I don't want to get stuck in the mud and just, look at it mid-season 2025 and this is our lot and this is the way it's going to be forever, because it's sport and it keeps moving. But I'm bitterly disappointed at what's happened. Like it's quite disgusting actually what's happened in the first half of 2025. And the longer we go on into the future, the worse it gets because the expectation rises. And then it's like, well, lower your expectations and you won't be so unhappy. And then it's like, mate, what are you talking about? I just want a team that is fiercely competitive every game. That is me lowering my expectations. You must be fiercely competitive and you must be focused every single game. And then within that, I understand that you can't be at your best every single game. So you allow for some room there. But yeah, what we're seeing right now is just so poor. And yeah, I wait for them to want to turn it around. And it's kind of where it sits right now. So my question to you, well, first of all, what's your mid-season review? Detail it below in the comments and, what's coming to mind for you. And how have you gone from pre-season, your expectations, to where we are now? Are you just trying to protect yourself by saying, come on, just accept it, we're bad? Or do you have the juice to continue to push, to want for more? Or are you just so disenchanted that you don't really know what's coming? And yeah, I really feel for the supporters above all else. I've started to get more enjoyment from talking amongst us in live chats and live streams and when guests come on than actually watching the footy, which I think is really scary, but also quite nice because I think we've captured that real essence of Carlton community here. And it really is the thing that kind of keeps me going, the thing that brings me the most joy at the moment, because the football's not. So yeah, we'll leave it there. Chat to you in the comments. Share your thoughts. Let's have a discussion and let's have a well-earned break and come back. I think the worst thing the club could do is, imagine they released a bobblehead just before the Essendon game. They released a bobblehead before the Essendon game. It's got deja vu about it. Anyway, I'll touch on that maybe in next week's preview for the Essendon game. But I just can't believe we're doing it again. Round 13, King's birthday, Sunday night. We're one more loss away against the Bombers, away from the venom coming out. They released a bobblehead. Ugh. Anyway, I'll leave that for next week. This is the mid-season review. Chat to you then. Go Blues.